February 25th, when he was last before the committee, I had asked him some questions, important questions, I think, regarding the consultation under the Endangered Species Act with regard to EPA's new proposals regarding existing power plants. His job is about endangered and threatened species and understanding impacts on that. Clearly, these new regulations have the potential for major impacts on that. And I asked him if he and EPA were consulting under the law because of that. He didn't know, he didn't have answers. I asked him to follow up. He has not followed up. I sent a letter to him and Administrator McCarthy regarding this mandated consultation on March 6th. I've gotten no response. So I'll continue following up. But that is his job. This is a major set of regulations, and we do expect answers about their responsibility for consultation. Now, in terms of questions, Dr. South, I share your concern that every weather item in the news, it seems, is sort of held up as the newest example of the impact of climate change with no real science behind that assertion. And this is also true of wildfires. Just recently, for instance, the Democratic Majority Leader, Harry Reid, claimed that global warming was the cause of increased wildfires, pure and simple. You testified about that. If you can go back and underscore, what do you think the science, the historical record lays out in terms of any trends over time regarding wildfires, number one? And number two, what do you think are the leading causes of any trends that do exist?
Those who claim that CO2 causes additional wildfires are not making scientific statements. They instead are being usually fooled by journalists. Wildfires have typically been associated with droughts and with forest conditions that make wildfires more probable. The chart that I showed, showing a lot of wildfires in the 30s and before we started having really active wildfire fighting forces, gives you an idea of how cyclic it can be. The downward trend there that you see is caused by humans. Our activity is trying to fight the fires. The urban sprawl that has caused people to, or has resulted in people building houses in the forest has, in my view and others, taken manpower away from fighting fires and into protecting homes. And this can increase the size of the wildfire that they happen to be working on. So spending more time on fighting or preventing houses from catching fire and taking the time away from attacking the front causes the size of the fire to be larger.
And also in this area, what are your thoughts about current management of our forests and that factor regarding wildfires?
Well, we have the general view of the public. We're starting to let the public manage our forests instead of letting foresters. And when the public causes litigation, delays, thinning practices, delays, fire, fuel, wood reductions, activities, we get a buildup of fuels and an increased risk of wildfires. So by enacting policies that lock up wilderness areas, decreases harvesting rates of, we used to harvest about 12 billion board feet per year off of a national forest, and that has just dropped down to nothing now. So our national forests are getting bigger, and this is all causing for more catastrophic wildfires when they do occur.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Senator Venner. Senator Wicker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to say this. I have not today, or have I ever, in a committee hearing, insulted the integrity of witnesses on the other side of an issue. And we have come perilously close to that in this committee today. And it's been suggested by my friend from Rhode Island that Dr. South and Dr. Lee Gates are part of a fringe. And to me, this is the very kind of public intimidation and insulting rhetoric that Professor Lee Gates has talked about in, having experience at the University of Delaware, and I take exception to it. Now, Dr. Lee Gates, you are a signatory of the Oregon petition, are you not?
Yes, sir.
And that Oregon petition says there's no convincing scientific evidence that human release of carbon dioxide, methane, or other greenhouse gases is causing or will in the foreseeable future cause catastrophic heating of the Earth's atmosphere and disruption of the Earth's climate. I assume this is some petition that you and some fringe scientists from Oregon got together and signed. Is that correct?
No, I believe there's 30-some thousand people who signed that petition.
30-some thousand people. Would you describe these people?
Many of them are scientists, PhDs, and other disciplines, people who are connected with climate change and doing research in various areas associated with it.
Well, I just have to say I appreciate someone standing up and challenging the conventional wisdom. You know, Martin Luther did that. Martin Luther King did that. And so I appreciate some people who are willing to hold up their hand and say, wait a minute, I've got some data here that I would like to suggest is a contrary position.
Well, I wouldn't put myself quite in that category.
Well, but it is an important issue. And I have to say, I admire you for standing up, and Dr. South also for standing up and saying you have a right to be heard and a right to be listened to and a right not to be insulted by being called a part of a lunatic fringe. Now, you've concluded that droughts in the United States are more frequent and more intense during colder periods. Is that correct?
That's what the data indicate.
Okay.
When we look at droughts over the last 2,000 years, they tend to become more intense and more frequent when the temperatures have become colder.
Dr. South, you've offered a couple of bets to your fellow scientists over time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I believe 5 years ago you offered a bet on an ice-free Arctic in the summer of 2013 when a BBC journalist wrote a 2007 article entitled Arctic Summers Ice-Free by 2013, and several ice experts declined to bet with you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If they had bet with you, they would have lost that bet. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you currently are offering a bet on sea level rise. Would you tell the committee about that?
Yes, I'm looking for someone who would be willing to bet $1,000 on the sea level increase for the year 2024 in Charleston, South Carolina. The rate currently is around 3.15 millimeters. I don't know how they do that to the nearest hundredth of a millimeter. But you can do it mathematically. I don't know how you can do it scientifically. But and I will bet that the rate in 10 years from now is not over 7 millimeters. The 7 millimeters would, if a millimeter rate starts now and goes to the year 2100, it would equal about a 2-foot increase. Many people are talking about a 14 millimeter being equivalent to a 4-foot increase. So I'm essentially betting that for the next 10 years, it will be not increasing at a rate that would equal a 2-foot increase by the year 2100. But I'm not going to be living that long, so I can't win that bet.
Well, would this bet apply to your heirs and assigns? And I don't know, you're looking pretty healthy.
Well, yes. Yes, it would.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We've had a good hearing, and there are people watching this, and there'll be people late at night, Mr. Chairman, watching this hearing that are suffering from insomnia, and perhaps someone will take Dr. South up on his bet.
Thank you very much to all of our